In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
All right, what do you say? What do you say? What do you say, guys? Hit that like button.
And we gonna do.
What do you say we just get it popping right off the jump here? What do you say we just get right into it? What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? First and foremost, to the mods, we're going to try this vertical thing one more time. If we could station somebody over there to control the rampage that does take place in the vertical lives, I would be very much appreciated. And again, if it becomes too much, if it's not worth it, we'll see if we can scrap that. But we're going to try it one more time. What's going on, everybody? Hit that like on the way in. How's everybody doing? We're going to be all over the goddamn place today, as usual, as you kind of have to be to try to cover all of the nonsense, all of the stupidity. I appreciate you guys, being with me on this journey as we do try to get in touch, informed and up to speed on everything that's taken place. So if you guys could hit that like button on your way in. What's going on, Sparklers? What's happening, people? What's up, Blunt Politics? What's going on? Let me get you guys in here. Get your airtime. You guys deserve the airtime. Let's see here. There you are. What's up, guys? How are you? How's everybody doing? What's going on, Gamer? What's up, Carol? What's up, Roxanne? What's up, Kathleen? What's up, Carol? Appreciate you. What's up, Yakov? Skyjack Morgan. What the hell is happening, my brother? How are you? What's up, Alyosha? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you for everything that you do over there on Twitch, my friend. Thank you to Evie's aunt. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, wherever you guys may be watching from, please hit that like button. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers. And again, it's only with your help that we're going to get there. We're trying to do it in the right way. Again, we're not trying to sell you any products that are meaningless, but I'm going to tell you that changed my life. I don't force you to pay for a Substack. None of my content is hidden behind a paywall. All I ask for is that you find some value in the show. You reach out either via Venmo, which isn't up there right now, so it's probably not helping anybody. Let me see if I can throw that up there because it's probably a little bit easier for you guys to look at if it is, visible. But yeah, I appreciate you guys as always. What's up, Dame? What's up, Jay? And again, thank you to all the mods. What's up, Mark? Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you, my brother. Appreciate you. What's up, Teague? How are you? What's up, Corrine? And again, shout out to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. Like I said, we're going to be all over the place today. We're going to be talking about it all. We're clip heavy. I'm going to see if my computer can take it and handle all the tabs I have open right now. But we'll be talking about more U.S. troops being sent to the Middle East. Some bad news for what is the most expensive weapons program and platform in modern history, which is the F-35, which has been allegedly reportedly struck by the Iranians. We'll also be talking a lot about Tulsi Gabbard and her connections and her kind of face plant that she had in Congress the other day. I know we didn't get a ton of time to kind of cover it, so we'll be diving back into that as well. R.I.P. Chuck Norris. Can we get an R.I.P. Chuck Norris in the chat? W. Chuck Norris in the chat there. Another legend lost. Again, we have to talk about it all. Like I said, we'll also have a couple clips from James O'Brien and LBC, who is laying down the facts as usual. Lots of stuff to dive into, lots to cover. So like I said, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as we try to cover it all here on the Blunt Politics Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much to the mods again. Thank you so much to everybody. I appreciate you guys. I really do for taking the time out. But all right, let's start here because unfortunately we do have allegedly, reportedly, take it with a grain of salt, some news to report. Unfortunately, the President of the United States is in fact alive. Apparently, again, allegedly, reportedly, take it with a huge grain of salt. And by the President of the United States, of course, I do mean Benjamin Netanyahu, which everybody has kind of been speculating on for quite some time. Let me see if I can throw this on your screen. But unfortunately, some news to report. It does look like, in fact, the standing president of the United States here, Benjamin Netanyahu, is breathing. And again, like I said, take this all with a grain of salt because there's even more speculation coming from this. We're going to dive into a few clips, a couple of the insane things that he said, reportedly said, or the AI said, or somebody fucking said. I don't know. Believe me, at this point, I'm standing on my fucking head trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Nothing seems to make sense. Nothing seems to add up. There seems to be discrepancies with every fucking thing that comes in front of my eyes nowadays. So I don't know. This is what AI does. This is what AI has done to people. We are just incredibly skeptical of fucking everything right now, as we probably should be, rightly so. But again, he said some ridiculous shit. First of which is, to come out and say I'm alive is just, again, I don't know, just a weird thing. It's just weird to have to say. Why would you've already come out with several videos. Why would you in this press conference again have to say you're alive? You know what I mean? If all the other videos were real, doesn't make sense really. But let's play a couple of clips from this insane little meeting press conference that he had. This is again where he comes out and wants to let everybody know just how alive he is. We'll take out another clip where he basically just demeans all of the Christians in the world and basically says that evil will triumph over good no matter what. Doesn't matter how righteous you are. Doesn't matter how good you are in your daily life. It doesn't matter because the evil will always overcome, which is a wild thing to say in this regard. But again, this is him letting everybody know that the president of the United States, in fact, is alive. Again, if you take his word for it with a grain of salt, right hand up, I got no fucking idea. I got no clue.
Welcome to the Foreign Press. First of all, I just want to say I'm alive. And you're all witnesses.
And typically what I start off every show saying that, right? I typically have to come on to every podcast and be like, you know what, guys, I am alive. You're all witnesses. Because there was, incredible speculation going on out there and rumors to suggest that I wasn't alive. So again, it's all normal to have to come out in a press conference as the Prime Minister of Israel, as the leader of the United States of America, the de facto leader of the United States of America, to have to establish your, aliveness. It's just strange. The whole fucking thing has been odd from start to finish. It really has been.
Now that I dispatched this piece of fake news, I'm going to give you an
Wouldn't be so quick to say that. Wouldn't be so quick to say that because the internet once again did do its thing. But before we dive into, the internet doing its thing, let me see if I can throw this clip on there because this is just a wild thing to say, right? This is just a wild thing to say considering you're trying to, again, get the backing of the United States, as everybody loves to say, especially Donald Trump and the Republicans, that, we're a Christian nation and we're based on, Judeo-Christian beliefs and all this fucking nonsense and shit that they love to spew. But this is him coming out here and just being like, yeah, it doesn't matter. All that good stuff that you were taught about, being good in your life and, Jesus and, being kind to others and, you will prevail in your life. Like all that's just horse shit. All that's nonsense. Evil will inevitably prevail every single time. Apparently, this is, again, listen to what he says here. It's like, I don't know. If it's not AI, you're just a moron for saying this type of shit.
Also wrote The Lessons of History, very brief, 100-page book, in which he said, well, history proves that, unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan.
Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. Now, I don't know. Is that written in the Bible somewhere? Is that taken word for word, verbatim out of the Bible? I don't recall in what fucking chapter, what verse that's written in. I'll have to dig deeper into that. But I don't recall that one.
Because if you are strong enough, ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good.
As we're seeing here, because as this ruthless, maniacal piece of shit decidedly continues to get his way in leading the United States around by the nose and getting Donald Trump to do all of his fucking bidding and, check every one of his boxes on the wish list here, we continue to see that maybe, I don't know, is he right? I don't know. Just a weird thing to say. I got to say, it really is. It's just a strange thing to come out and be like, well, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are as far as believing in Jesus Christ, believing in the teachings of Jesus, believing in, being good in your daily life and that helping you and you getting, ahead because of how good you are. That is just horseshit, apparently here, talking to Benjamin Netanyahu. But again, like I said, a lot of people are speculating even from this video. And I do got to say, let me throw this one on because, this is one of the things that people were pointing out as far as this little meeting, this little press conference was concerned. They were pointing out and I'll get out of the way here so you guys can see, but look at his left sleeve. And this is what, again, just what the internet is calling out as far as being, kind of odd, not looking right, looking like it may be, superimposed or computer generated, if you will. But take a look at his left sleeve there and let me know what you guys think in the chat. And then we'll go on and I'll play here a post from one of the apparent reporters that was in the room. And I'll give you the angle that kind of makes it look like and shows that these people were all in the same room. So again, I'll let you guys be the judge. I'll let you guys come to your own conclusions, but we're just putting together kind of the resources here and the clips that people are discussing. So again, take a look at his left wrist, take a look at his left arm here, his left hand, and tell me what you guys think.
One.
So again, the odd movement with the undershirt kind of lengthening, right before your eyes, not looking like that the coat above it was moving at all. So again, this is what people on the internet were kind of pointing out as far as being an oddity in this little press conference. There was more too, because this led to further speculation. Let me see if I can play this. Was Instagram. This is Ben Swan, who again has kind of been all over this kind of, the speculation, the rumors of where is Benjamin Netanyahu. This has almost 28,000 likes at this point. And again, this was just some of the speculation after this press conference. And then I'll go on to show the reporter that kind of posted his different angle to the press conference on Twitter, and we'll see what you guys think of that too. Like I said, you guys can come to your own conclusions. I'm just here to show you kind of what's out there. That's all.
I'm alive, and you're all witnesses.
The more that we talk about whether or not Bibi Netanyahu is alive, the more I start to think he's dead, because every time he shows up in public, it's clearly AI. Now, look, today, Netanyahu came out and held a press conference, proof that he was alive. He even said to the world, this is proof. Here's the problem. There are at least two major AI mistakes here. The first one, it's been getting a lot of attention online, is his sleeve. Watch here as he puts his hand on the side of the podium and magically his cuff from his shirt grows out of his suit coat. Clearly it's AI. This is not real. It's also highly suspicious that there are no reporters to be seen.
Anybody worried about that background music? Is that copyright music? We kind of get the gist of what he's saying anyway. No need to go on. I'm just kind of showing you the videos that are even being made after this press conference, even when this was supposed to have been put to rest. But this is the angle that I saw from posted by Jeremy Diamond on Twitter, where he says pressing Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on his strategy in the war with Iran and whether he or President Trump is ultimately calling the shots. So again, there's been conflicting reports. I know I've seen and been sent a couple things where it says that it was a virtual press conference, or at least, the questions were sent in virtually. This angle seems to show a different story, seems to show that they are indeed in the same room. And again, take this with a grain of salt. I'm just showing you what's out there. This was posted again by Jeremy Diamond. About, from his angle from that press conference. And I'll let this play and you guys can let me know what you think. And I do remember seeing a question by this gentleman. I'll get out of the way so you guys can see this gentleman right here, just to the right of the gentleman standing up with the microphone. I do remember a question being asked by him, and he's wearing the same stuff. So as far as that being a through line, that's at least consistent with what I saw earlier. But again, let me know what you guys think. Here's kind of the angle posted by this reporter, or this guy asking the question here.
You've assassinated Iran's supreme leader and dozens of other senior Iranian officials. The result of that so far has been the appointment of a new supreme leader considered to be even more hardline than his father. The Iranian regime is not showing any signs of collapse as of now. So I wonder, what do you say to those who say that killing those...
So again, there's clear footage of Netanyahu coming into the room, and you can see he comes in through what appears to be the same door, the same entrance with the same signs above it. Looks to be followed by that same gentleman you can see there in the mask, just kind of standing there with his hands together there. So again, this seems to be clear evidence to show that they are in the same room, that the reporters and the news were in the same room as Netanyahu, asking him direct questions. Seems to be that he's making eye contact, at least at moments, with where he's supposed to be standing. I know he avoids eye contact a lot of the time, but it does seem to me like he's looking in the right. Again, this is all just what's out there. You guys can come to your own conclusions. I'm just trying to, sift through the bullshit, see if we can actually figure out and, dive down into what's actually taking place. You know what I mean? But again, it's difficult. It's not fucking easy. It is not easy, even for somebody that does this every single day, that has to sift through this bullshit, that has been watching Newsmax and OAN and fucking RSBN for damn near 10 years now, if not more, for Christ's sakes. like even for it's hard, it's difficult. Like it's getting more and more difficult to see, where they're trying to trick you. I know a lot of it is sometimes pretty obvious, right? Doesn't take much of a genius to figure out that, you shouldn't have 17 fucking fingers or 27 eyes or 10 legs, right? But again, it's getting better and better by the day, where it's getting harder and harder to figure out, what's truth, what's not truth, what's reality, what's fake, what's AI. So we kind of have to stay vigilant and be on top of these things. But again, this is what's out there. People even speculating after this press conference about the de facto president of the United States, Benjamin Netanyahu, and whether he is still breathing or whether or not he is laying horizontally next to Charlie Kirk somewhere in hell. Right. So again, the speculation continues. Who the hell knows what's actually going on? From what I've seen, I got to say, it does seem to me, unfortunately, that his lungs are still functional at this point. But again, if there's anybody out there that has anything else to show me, anything else that I should see, any other angles, any other videos, let me know, and we'd be sure to dive into those as well. But I want to know what Jen and Pumps had to say, because we're talking about Bibi's bizarre anti-Christian speech, kind of the stuff that he was saying there as well. So I wanted to dive into just the first 2 minutes or 3 minutes of this Jen and Pumps video where they're discussing his press conference. And I'm just kind of curious if they have anything to say on, whether or not it was really him or not really him, or if they discuss it at all, or whether or not they just kind of address the, insane rhetoric of what he was talking about as far as, expanding this war, as far as not allowing people to ask questions. I think at one point he said that they exhausted their questions when he was asked a pretty poignant question at the end there. So I just want to go on here, like I said, the first minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe, of what they had to, what their thoughts were of this press conference. I'm just kind of curious what everybody else is saying online. So if you'll allow me, please hit that like button, share it out right now. Please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, and it's only with your help that we're going to get there. I appreciate you guys, the mods, the chat. You guys are fan-fucking-tastic and continue to be. So let's go. Let's dive into this real quick.
The most despicable person on the planet did a press conference yesterday. And of course, I'm talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, where he casually drops that, oh yeah, there's going to have to be a ground component, that we're going to have to send U.S. troops on the ground in Iran. Yet again, here we are. He also,
and again, later on in the show, we'll be talking about, obviously, the U.S. troops being sent to the Middle East along with the added warships. We'll obviously be continuing to look at the news and the updates on what's taking place there as well. So stick around for that. Like I said, hit that like button.
Feels that the whole purpose of this for him is to get an oil pipeway straight into Israel. It's not even about any of the shit that they tell us it's about. But this guy is so bizarre, and he's so.
That was another one of the things that Bibi said yesterday in his alleged apparent press conference that he had, was basically that we don't have to worry about the Strait of Hormuz. We don't have to worry about the other strait that the Houthis could possibly control. That would affect about 12 or 13% of all global shipping. We don't have to worry about that. All we have to do is build these giant pipelines that feed directly to Israel, and we won't have to worry about that anymore. We'll be all set. Just build these ridiculously expensive pipelines flowing right down to Israel, right up to Israel, I should say. And then again, we'll be all set. You won't have to worry about the Strait of Hormuz. So, another one of the ridiculous and insane things that Netanyahu supposedly said in his press conference.
Cult. And let's not kid ourselves, the way the people that support this fascist right-wing Israeli government, they behave as a cult. If you criticize them, they freak out. You can't criticize us. You can't criticize our government yet, but we're a democracy. It's just complete hypocrisy. But this statement right here was wild. Put up the post first, Kylie. Owen Schroyer says,
oh boy. I feel like I have to do a little bit more like media education here, if you will, with Jen and Pumps, good old Jen and Pumps, much like kind of the whole Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian thing that they found themselves in. I do believe, I don't know, do they know who Owen Schroyer is? Are they familiar with Owen Schroyer? Because, again, there's got to be another tweet out there from another individual that they could have used that would have gotten across the same message, the same point that they wanted to get across, much like I used a different clip to get across the same message, probably the same instance, the same words that he's about to say. Owen Schroyer is Alex Jones's ex-sidekick. I mean, all you got to do is look at his name right there, at Owen Schroyer 1776. Should pretty much give the game away, should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about this degenerate Nazi scumbag. So again, it doesn't seem to me, again, like they really have an idea of who exactly they're using their post in, or again, maybe they do, but they should probably educate their audience as to who they're using as far as their posts are, and kind of highlight the reason that they're using it is because it could be more effective towards the MAGA base, towards the GOP, more than if it was just Jen or Pumps giving their opinion on it, right? So that's what we try to do here is we use Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Marjorie Taylor Greene, if they have something to say about the administration that seems to line up with a little bit of what we're talking about or seeing in reality. Like, we need to make sure that we continuously highlight that these are no friends. These people are degenerates. They are scumbags. They are self-proclaimed Nazis. They are bigoted, racist, homophobic pieces of shit. But again, the benefit to using their words against this administration is they are directly responsible for getting these people in power. So now their 180 can be used against the people still voting for this shit or still supporting what Donald Trump is doing. So again, just a little bit of critiquing, if I may, if I can, and in that regard, because yeah, Owen Schroyer is definitely nobody that we should be using his posts, talking about, lauding, or applauding in any way, shape, or form. Again, unless you're going to let everybody know exactly who he is and why you're using it. So just a little sidetrack on that one, but I think it's not kind of out of bounds for me to kind of let everybody know just who Owen Schroyer is and what he's been responsible for.
In this short clip, Netanyahu says he insults Christians and Jesus Christ. He asserts there's no purpose in being a good person, says we have no choice but to fight Israel's wars, and then subtly threatens us if we don't. Play the clip.
Well, history proves that, unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. Because if you are strong enough.
And again, we'll get Jen and Pump's take on this clip here, and then we'll dive on to, again, Donald Trump sending even more troops and manpower and warships into the Middle East. Again, as Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon are asking for $200 billion more to fight this war, even though they say that Iran is totally discombobulated. They are totally incapable of fighting back. Their entire Air Force, their entire Navy, their entire leadership, all of the targets that they need to hit have been taken out. So there's no need for any other further money to be sent there, or troops, or warships, or have our allies in the area. But again, that's exactly what's taking place. More troops, more ships, allies now putting, aircraft carriers, as we've seen with the French aircraft carrier that was kind of mistakenly identified as far as it being geolocated. As we saw, I believe it was this morning that report came out, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this stuff comes in so fast and so quick, it's tough to keep track of it. All right, let's just get Jen and Pump's thoughts on this comment here, this clip, and then we'll dive on to, I believe it's a Wall Street Journal article detailing the troops that are now being sent in by Donald Trump, even though he's continuously denying sending troops or thinking about boots on the ground. All right, let's get into it.
Ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good. Aggression will overcome moderation.
So you're so welcome. You are so very welcome. In the chat says, hey, Brian, I just wanted to thank you for talking about politics. It helps me understand politics a lot more, so thanks. That's why we do this, okay? That's why we do this, for you and for people like you that wouldn't normally be getting into this stuff, that wouldn't normally be focusing on this stuff, and, just consider it outside noise. We kind of give you the ability, not only that, but the community that you guys can discuss these things in. You can feel like you're not alone. You can feel like that you're fighting with a team. So Teague, I appreciate that very, very, very much. I do. I really do. That's a very kind comment and exactly why we continue to do this. So appreciate you.
You have no choice. If you look at the world as it is today, you have to be blind not to see that the democracies led by the United States have to reassert their will to defend themselves and to oppose their enemies in time while there's still time, before the jarring gong of danger wakes them up and wakes them up too late.
Okay.
Again, that was his attempt at using a Churchill quote to, again, justify the means to justify his ongoing war that he's been perpetrating with Donald Trump, with Jared Kushner, to try to, again, hide their involvement in the Epstein files, and to engage in, checking off the wish list that Benjamin Netanyahu has to keep him from facing accountability and justice within his own country. Not only that, within the, on the international stage, too, with his warrants that he has out there for being the war criminal that he is. But again, I just want to get their take on it, and we'll move on to the Wall Street Journal article there.
The popularity of Israel, I think, among Democratic voters is like below 20%. This war is wildly unpopular, but more than anything, this type of fear-mongering propaganda, especially from a foreign leader, as though he's lecturing the American people about good versus evil, criticizing, it's a majority Christian state, criticizing the Lord and personal savior of all of these Christian Zionists.
This coming from the most demonic son of a bitch on the face of the planet right now, in a lot of people's view. This being Benjamin Netanyahu, the most fucking decrepit son of a bitch out there besides Donald Trump. Again, these two working in conjunction is just kind of the worst fucking thing we could possibly see. Just total disregard for human life. Absolutely no ability to have a cohesive plan. No ability to have an off-ramp. You definitely no plan to mitigate the after effects or the secondary impacts, not only on the world stage, but also to the American people who he's supposed to be fucking serving, who he directly lied to about getting the prices of everything down, who he directly lied to about, no new wars, no foreign wars, no endless wars, no new wars, no boots in the Middle East, all this bullshit, right? Your energy prices were going to be cut in half in fucking 12 and a half seconds. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was going to be ended in 37 seconds. Your grocery prices were going to be just blink, and your grocery prices were going to be down. Christ, you might get free gas. Donald Trump will say. I mean, you're going to have to. They might be paying you for gas at some point if you listen to Donald Trump's campaign. How's that going for fucking everybody? I think the gas station across the street just jumped from $3.08 to $3.29, if not higher, in a single day. So again, it may not seem like much, but as we've continued to see the largest spike in oil prices. As we continue to see the rise in gas prices, and as we continue to see that have an economic impact on every aspect of your life, whether that's fucking the utensils you use and have to buy, whether that's the TVs, whether that's the cell phones, whether that's the clothes, whether that's your shoes, whatever the fuck it may be, your auto body parts, right? To fix your car, whatever it may be. If that shit's coming over on a plane, train, automobile, or a fucking cargo ship, it's going to get more expensive. Especially as we continue to see the attacks on the oil and energy infrastructure in the area, as we've continued to see after, Israel's strike on the gas field there. We saw the impacts of that right away. And again, this continues to look bad in the region too, because as much as, again, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump love to tell you that the Iranians have zero capability right now to strike back, we on every fucking show have the ability and the resources to show you how the Iranians are fucking striking back. And not only that, but the penetration rates are now, going up. And it seems like they've been able to shoot up more missiles and more drones, and I'm not sure what the day count is in the last, let's say, 3 or 4 days, than they were in several weeks before that. So again, it doesn't seem to be that their capabilities are diminishing. And as we've told you about their drone capabilities, how many cheap drones they have, their ability to manufacture those, wasn't being talked about by our military leaders. They were focusing on the missiles. And even that doesn't seem to be true. That doesn't seem to be coming to reality, because we continue to see, ballistic missiles being fired at Israel, at the surrounding regions and U.S. bases. So it's like, what the fuck? And as zero things that they're telling you right now seem to be going on in reality, like seems to be happening on the ground.
Weird shit on top of weird shit. But more than anything, I think it's important to keep stating the number one killer of children in the world right now is this man's regime.
Well, and also I think that for me, it shows Benjamin Netanyahu is calling the shots on what Donald Trump does. You've heard over and over how he brought him into the war, all the different reasons, whatever. But then he bombs this site. 17% of the oil in the world is that. Iran bombs it. Now we don't have it.
Liquefied natural gas.
Retaliation by Israel. Donald Trump says, Israel's not going to do this again. And my first thought was, you're not in charge, buddy. Benjamin Netanyahu is in charge. And his statements in that, he can say whatever the fuck he wants to the American people, because he knows that he gets to tell the United States what to do. And it makes me sick.
And she's 100% right. Like we continue to say, the de facto president of the United States right now is absolutely Benjamin Netanyahu. He's absolutely the one calling the shots right now. He loves to continuously give Donald Trump the credit. What's he say when in that press conference? Does anybody really think that you can tell Donald Trump what to do? You don't think that he could be coerced? You don't think that he could be manipulated? For fuck's sake, we've seen the guy in the public spotlight for quite some time now. You're not going to get one over on us. We know the guy's a complete and utter moron, and the last person that chirps in the guy's fucking ear is likely to get his way, right? We know that he can be manipulated. We've seen NATO leaders. We've seen Zelensky do it. We've seen multiple, world leaders come in and manipulate and maneuver Donald Trump in the way that they want to see done. And they can shake his hand and they'll fucking glad ass him and fucking, kiss his ass, as much as he wants. But when push comes to shove, they know that they still need to, to represent themselves as an independent nation, right? So again, they know how to work around this asshole. They know how to get what they want from this asshole to butter him up, but also still get what they want out of it. So it's crazy, but I do appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you so much for all the gifting that you guys are doing as well. Thank you to Ricky in there for the 10 gifted memberships. You are fantastic. And thank you to the people that are joining up as members as well. I really do appreciate that. And like I said, hit that like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. I really do appreciate you guys joining me. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, hopefully ahead of midterms. That would be a great goal. That would be a great achievement if we could get there before the midterm so we could celebrate not only the blue wave that is oncoming, but also our goals, our achievements here on the show. So, all right, let's dive into, if I can, as you guys are hitting that like button, this Wall Street Journal article here, again, talking about the sending of more troops, the sending of more warships to this area, which Donald Trump loves to say that he's not doing. Pentagon sending thousands of additional Marines to the Middle East. And again, because I refuse to pay for this ridiculous shit, we can only read a little bit of it, but we can get the gist of it here. This is the Pentagon is sending 3 warships and thousands of additional Marines to the Middle East, even as President Trump insists he won't put American boots on the ground in Iran. According to U.S. officials, roughly 2,200 to 2,500 Marines from the California-based USS Boxer Amphibious Ready Group and the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit are heading to the U.S. Central Command responsible for all American forces in the Middle East, the officials said. This is the second massive deployment of Marines in the past week after the Pentagon sent the Japan-based USS Tripoli and the 31st MEU to the region. The news comes just a day after Trump said he has no plans to put American troops on the ground in Iran. So again, this put on top of the $200 billion request by the Pentagon for added funds to conduct this war. This, as Pete Hegseth continues to come out every day and say, today will be the largest day of bombing that we've undertaken. We're going to hit the largest amount of fucking targets, even though in the same sentence, he loves to say that we've already taken out all of their targets and there's basically no targets to hit and that there's just planes kind of flying about willy-nilly looking for targets that they can pick out themselves. Like this is shit that he's trying to say as we're looking at the news of what's actually taking place, the actions that they're actually undertaking. And again, as he loves to talk about the planes flying over willy-nilly, probably a good time to look at this, which is not a good fucking look, ladies and gentlemen, okay? It is not a good look for $100 million aircraft, part of a $2 trillion, weapons system, should be shot down by any Iranian surface-to-air missile, considering this thing's supposed to be damn near impossible to spot on radar. But we have here a report from OSINT Defender, and then right after, we got a clip here from, I believe it's ABC World News, depicting this same thing, giving us a little bit more information. So this is from OSINT Defender. The IRGC has released a statement accompanied by video footage which claims to show the targeting of an American F-35 AB Lightning II with surface-to-air missiles in the skies over Iran. This claim by the IRGC follows the reports that the F-35 was damaged and forced to make an emergency landing at an airbase in the Middle East due to hostile fire over Iran, which I believe has since been corroborated by both CENTCOM and multiple organizations and sites as well. So what does this mean? Is this a fucking terrible look? Abso-fucking-goddamn-lutely. Again, to have spent, and I think it's reported that somewhere over the 90-year lifespan that it's reported they're going to spend somewhere near $2 trillion on this weapons system, on this weapons platform, not to mention the ridiculous amount of R&D and how ridiculously over budget this whole platform went. But to now see that it's got the ability to just be, struck, to be hit by just some random fucking Iranian surface-to-air missile in the sky, nothing really special, nothing really clever, that it's really not that fucking invisible up there. I mean, we're talking about the newest, the baddest, the biggest, the 5th generation fucking jet fighter of the United States that you're not supposed to be able to tell from a fucking bumblebee on your radar, screen. But apparently, Iran has the ability to just fucking take them out of the sky. And again, luckily, it wasn't taken down. They were forced to make an emergency landing. And to the best of my knowledge, the pilot did make it out okay, which is obviously a good sign. But this is not a good sign. This is not a good look for, again, the big, bad U.S. fucking military that Donald Trump loves to say he rebuilt. Okay, and as much as they're probably going to say this is because of something else, we can all see what's happening in front of our face. We can all see that this is fucking absolutely, not a good thing to be shown on the world stage. If our enemies start getting us, getting a look at this and being like, well, apparently the F-35 can be taken down with this system. So why don't we load up on that system? That way, in case we ever need to encounter one of these things, we know how we can take it down. Again, it doesn't give, everybody, it doesn't instill fear in the eyes of our enemies when they see shit like this. That's, basically the gist of it. And again, to have a $2 trillion weapons platform, weapons system, just actively targeted by Iranian fucking surface-to-air missiles is an absolute joke, okay? Is an absolute fucking joke. And it's just another big example of how they not only weren't ready and prepared for this, but they also don't know how to conduct it at the point that they're at right now. They don't know where to go from here. They don't know how to mitigate the damages. They don't know how to mitigate the retaliations. We're just kind of fucking flying blind, which is probably a pretty good metaphor considering this story. But again, here's ABC News, World News Tonight, talking about this exact situation. So let's see if we can get some more details, more insight into what may have taken place, what we're looking at, and what it means. So again, hit that like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. I really do appreciate you guys for being here. I try to let you guys know that as much as possible because I do. I really do appreciate it. All right, let's get into it.
Breaking news in the war in Iran. Sources telling ABC News tonight a U.S. F-35 stealth fighter on a combat mission over Iran was hit possibly by hostile fire. The stealth fighter making an emergency landing at a U.S. base. The pilot tonight reportedly in stable condition. And tonight questions about how the stealth fighter, nearly invisible to radar, could have been hit. It comes amid growing...
Could have been too fucking invisible. I know that. That's probably first and foremost. I don't think anything's going to be struck by, one of those things if it was just invisible at that point. I don't think they got lucky and sent the fucking missile up and just happened to have it intersect an F-35 at the exact moment it was going over that flight path. It doesn't seem to me. It seems like they saw it. You know what I mean?
Attacks targeting oil and gas fields in Israel, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar. The facilities going up in smoke and flames. Iran retaliating after Israel targeted the largest gas field in the world inside Iran.
And that's strange. We always hear that they have no ability to retaliate. They have no ability to continue to throw and lob missiles and drones at U.S. bases, at our allies in the region, at oil and energy infrastructure, to put further hurt on the world economy, to put further hurt on you and stress on your wallet, like we've been seeing already. We're continuously told they don't have that ability. But what I'm seeing here seems to be a big motherfucking fireball, right? Seems to be a lot of goddamn destruction being seen. And again, as the reports slowly start to filter out of the success rate in Israel that they've been seeing and how hard they've been getting hit, it starts to paint a clearer picture as to, again, the success rate and how that seems to be climbing up, the penetration rate, as opposed to declining. As again, both of these militaries, the Israeli military and the U.S. military, the leadership, I should say, would have you believe.
President Trump tonight claiming he did not know about Israel's plan to strike the world's largest gas field. Tonight, this U.S. F-35 stealth fighter hit, and what we know so far. ABC's chief international correspondent James Longman leading us off from the region again tonight.
Tonight, for the first time since the war in Iran began, a U.S. stealth fighter jet is believed to have been hit by enemy fire. Tonight, sources tell ABC News and
I don't know how many people are familiar with this movie. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the movie Behind Enemy Lines. with Owen Wilson, with Gene Hackman, where it's kind of portraying the loss of a soldier behind enemy lines in Bosnia, Sarajevo, during that conflict back in the 90s there. But again, the reports from that movie that came at the beginning of it, again, I don't know how many people are familiar with that movie, but in the beginning, they do give news reports from kind of the world news reporter who sounds almost exactly like this guy giving the news report now. So it's strange to now hear it in real life. And again, not that we haven't heard this type of shit before, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, all of these different things. But again, to have this and seeing it now, 2026, and this ridiculously illegal, unconstitutional, and ridiculously destabilizing war that we're now engaged in, it's thrown me for a loop. Let's just say, I don't know, strange.
Air Force F-35 stealth fighter was flying a combat mission over Iran when it was hit. Sources say the pilot is in a stable condition tonight after landing at a U.S. base in the region. The incident raises immediate questions about how a U.S. stealth fighter, nearly invisible to radar, could have been hit by hostile fire, potentially by the Iranians. An urgent investigation is now underway. And tonight, amid the shock over global oil prices and gas prices in the United States, Iran is intensifying its attacks on major energy facilities.
Nope, it can't be. ABC, you're lying. They cannot be intensifying their attacks considering what Pete Hegseth continuously comes out and says on a daily basis. It's impossible. Both things cannot be true at the same time. Pete Hegseth cannot be telling the truth, and we cannot be seeing these attacks continue to increase at the same time, right? One reality is not reality. Somebody is fucking lying and somebody is right in this regard. And again, we continuously on every single fucking live stream have different bits of video, pieces of evidence to show you at just how effective, just how much damage, right? Just how much pressure on the world economy is still being put on there by the Iranians. Regardless, and a lot of what is talked about here, I think we kind of get lost in the sauce as far as talking about regime change. Right, the Trump administration and the IDF and Netanyahu's coalition there, they love to talk about taking out the regime, but again, without actually acknowledging the regime is just who they put in place. Okay, you can never fully eliminate the regime. Like, the regime is not a finite thing. It is not a specific thing. Okay, it is not a living, breathing organism that you could put in a box or put in a house and strike it with a fucking Tomahawk missile and decidedly say that it's all gone. Okay, the regime is just who they continue to put into power. So again, you will never, ever be able to fully eradicate the Iranian regime in the way that Benjamin Netanyahu, in the way that Donald Trump and the rest of these people, even though they've kind of, thrown that goal by the wayside, Benjamin Netanyahu still carrying around that fucking card in his pocket with apparently all the faces of the people that they want to kill. And it's only the phase 1 or phase 2, he says, and he's got much more of these sheets somewhere else of targets that he wants to continuously be killed. But again, that's not taking out the regime. They're going to continue to put people, and the people that they continue to put in place are going to be more fucking hardlined. They're going to be less likely to work with Western nations. They're going to be less likely to sit at a negotiating table and work with us as far as, world stabilization, right? World security, working together as partners and allies, whatever it may be. They're going to be much less likely to want to do that when their entire fucking family has been eradicated. Their country is being bombed to fucking shit, right? I mean, that doesn't really necessarily stoke up like, okay, let's go be best friends with the United States after they've already been chanting death to the fucking United States and death to America for God knows how long. I mean, we're just making this a worse situation, which in a clip with Tulsi Gabbard we'll pull up later, she actually admits we're in a worse position now than we were just prior to this when we were still engaged in negotiations with the previous Ayatollah, right? Not to mention when we did have the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, not to mention the past statements that she's made in front of Congress, testifying in front of Congress that the Ayatollah had paused the nuclear program in 2003, and there was absolutely no intel to suggest that he restarted that whatsoever. Not to mention the post that we'll also bring up where she had, I believe in 2020, where she was mocking Donald Trump for wanting to go to war with Iran. Funny how her fucking tunes changed, right? But here you go. I mean, it's just ongoing lies from every fucking angle. Excuse me, from not only this administration here in the United States, but, the Israeli leadership as well, as far as, again, the capabilities of the Iranians still and the effect that they're still having and can still have on the world economy and your fucking wallet, okay?
This region, fueling even more uncertainty. Smoke billowing from Israel's largest oil refinery after it was hit
Oh, you know
by
what'd be great
Iranian
is if I put it on the screen so you guys could watch. My apologies.
missile debris in video circulating online. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait hit yet again. Iran's retaliation comes after Israel bombed its section of the world's largest gas field. Overnight, President Trump denied any knowledge of Israel's decision to strike it.
And again, the reaction to this is quite extreme and quite rapid. Like we're not even really seeing, as far as gas prices, like it's almost immediate when this type of shit happens. You know, an attack on an oil site or a gas field will be announced, and immediately the market will react to that. I mean, again, like I said, the gas station across the street for the last probably, I want to say 3, 4, 5 days or so has been around 308. I looked out this morning and it's up to 329 really, really fucking rapidly. Just kind of showing you how quickly this could change and impact you again in your daily life. How are you going to get the kids to school? How are you going to get the kids to soccer practice? How are you going to get them to hockey practice? How do you get them? How do you get them to chorus? How do you get them to the field trip? Right? How do you pay for the babysitter while you're at work? How do you pay for dinner for every single one of your kids every single night? How do you buy the groceries to fill your fridge for the fucking month to keep you guys sustained? If those are going to be going up exponentially there, obviously it doesn't take a genius to see how that would impact you negatively in your daily life and how you're going to have to start making some serious decisions based on the instability of the future that we're now seeing.
Israeli source tells ABC News, quote, all Israeli targets in Iran are aligned with the United States. The president was pressed today if he spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu about that Israeli attack.
I told him, don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. We do, we're independent, we get along great.
And again, more lies and bullshit from this guy. It's already been reported from multiple Israeli sources that Donald Trump not only was part of the planning for that, but also gave the go-ahead for that strike on the gas field, and then decided that he didn't like the negative impacts, he didn't like the negative effects, he didn't like the added pressure that it was putting on him, so decided to come out and lie through his goddamn fucking orange, disgusting, decrepit teeth and tell you that he knew nothing about it and is going to command this situation like the leader that he is and make sure that Israel doesn't do this again. Even though it's really the de facto president of the United States, Benjamin Netanyahu, calling the fucking shots. But this guy loves to cosplay as a leader, loves to cosplay as a rich guy, and that's exactly what he continues to do. But again, let's jump into some of the nonsense from some of the maggots that are out there trying to, again, continuously justify this, to try to talk this up, to try to find a victory somewhere, anywhere buried deep inside of the bullshit that we're now seeing in this. Here's Greg Kelly. He's going to make his chance. He's going to take his chance. He's going to take his opportunity here to try to propagandize the people watching Newsmax that are dumb enough to tune into Greg Kelly Reports. Fucking Lord help you if you're one of the people tuning into Greg Kelly Reports in not kind of a laughable way, let's just say. But this is NATO is finally getting its act together by Greg Kelly. And again, I don't think he really understands that on the larger scale, on kind of the broader aspect, I think a lot of these allies are doing the very bare minimum. I think it's a lot of theatrics to try to, again, stay in the good graces, to try to stay having good relations with the United States. Not so much Donald Trump, obviously, but recognizing that Donald Trump does not represent on the whole the United States. Donald Trump is not the United States. And again, there will be life after fucking Donald Trump in the United States. So again, a lot of these world leaders, a lot of the fucking NATO leaders have to recognize that. Zelensky, again, great example of that, where, a lot of the times we feel like he's being too nice. We feel like he's being too friendly, but we also have to recognize that he's, a dignitary. We also have to recognize that he's a head of state, that he's dealing and is working on behalf of the Ukrainian people, not just his own self-serving interests, right? He's got to recognize that Ukraine is going to have a long-standing relationship with the United States, again, even after Donald Trump is dead and buried. So again, you can see kind of the back and forth and how they have to kind of manipulate the situation, bite their tongue, and just kind of go along with it a lot of the time where, we don't want necessarily to see them do that. But there's obviously way bigger things that they have to think about and deal with and worry about as far as the future of their country based, well beyond just kind of getting back at Donald Trump for, let's just, for example, yelling at Zelensky in the Oval Office, right? So, again, just for one example. But here's Greg Kelly thinking that, our NATO allies and everybody else is going to come jumping to our rescue when in fact, I think they're just doing a little buttering up of Donald Trump. I think they're kind of manipulating and schmoozing Donald Trump a little bit, kind of making it look like they're going to send, like the UK sent a delegation, I believe, to try to discuss how they could go about opening the strait. Like, I just think it's kind of like these theatrical, get the announcement out there. That way we can say, hey, look, at least we sent our delegation over there. I know, like we saw this morning, France has an aircraft carrier that was kind of geolocated. So, I just think it's kind of, I know that's not the bare minimum. So to a certain extent, I just think a lot of it is kind of theatrical and making it seem like they're kind of going to have Donald Trump's back and kind of recognize what he's saying. But in reality, they're just like, all right, what can we do to shut this fucking guy up? All right. And speaking of shutting people up, here's Greg Kelly.
The world, NATO, they were so enraptured with that Ukraine war, right? Everything about Ukraine, not a NATO member. Russia, not a NATO member. No more Warsaw Pact. Finally.
I'm sorry. Do you forget about that? I wonder what Greg Kelly would say if you brought up the Budapest Memorandum on Newsmax. Like, what would has he ever heard of that, you think? Does Greg Kelly know about the Budapest Memorandum? Does he understand that, Ukraine was made to give up their nuclear arsenal for a signature by the United States, that they would come to their aid if in fact Russia ever did the exact thing that it's doing now and has been doing for the last 5 years? You think he has any understanding of that? No, whatsoever. I don't think he does either. Plus, why does he actually think it's weird that the European leaders would have an interest in what happens in Europe? Just kind of, that's odd that he'd be like, wow, why are these people, they're so infatuated with the war in Ukraine? It's like, yeah, do you understand what nations come after Ukraine as far as, if they were, if Russia was allowed to just kind of bowl them down like bowling pins? You do understand how that, no, you don't? Okay. We'll have to go over the map at some point for Greg Kelly.
He's talking about this war being a priority for all of them, all of NATO and beyond.
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
What the US is doing at the moment is degrading that capability of Iran, and I think that's very important. This is important for European security, for the Middle East. It is vital for Israel itself. A nuclear Iran would potentially have been a direct threat to...
And I guess I am kind of two minds of this too, as much as I kind of understand and maybe kind of can see through it a little bit as far as, being a little buttery, let's just say, to Donald Trump. To another guy, it almost sounds exactly like Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Like, it's almost like, oh man, we couldn't possibly have gone another 2 seconds. Iran was going to have a nuclear fucking arsenal in about 13 fucking seconds. And if Donald Trump didn't do anything, we'd all be in hell right now. So again, on one hand, I understand people frustrated at kind of how he's being kind of mealy-mouthed about that. It almost seems like he's in support of this. But again, you also have to understand to a greater aspect what else he's responsible for and what else he may be trying to get at. And obviously the cooperation that they still need by the United States, not specifically Donald Trump, but the United States, and maybe why he's kind of using the language that he's using.
To the future of Israel, but again, to the whole Middle East and to Europe.
I like what he's saying. He happens to be from Norway. Those Europeans are always... I don't think I've ever seen a fat person from Norway. It's kind of wild. Ukraine, NATO went berserk over, right? I mean, but this, Iran has attacked every single European country and America, our people all over the world.
In retaliation of the fucking strikes initiated by Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, Jared Kushner, to cover up their involvement and engagement and all their buddies' engagement in the Jeffrey Epstein fucking files, or what should be known as the Donald Trump files with a few mentions of Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? So shut the fuck up, Greg, you dumb son of a bitch. Again, to be like mind blown that the European leaders would have some fucking interest in what happens in Europe and maybe what would happen and the dangers posed if Russia was allowed to, again, walk and steamroll right through Ukraine and get into, other nations in Europe. Like, what the fuck? Are you really confused by that, Greg? You're really like, you can't see as to why, the European leaders would have an interest in supporting Ukraine. You just can't see it, can you?
And for too long, they were, we don't know about this. So good for that Mark Rutte guy. He's the Secretary General, the Euro we just saw. He has a good relationship with President Trump. I think this is big. It may be a token gesture. It may be spin, but I like it. I keep hearing this on the news and from Democrats, and it's getting annoying. Boots on the ground. We could never in a million years even consider boots on the ground. If that's true, why do we give everybody boots? Why do we have boots if you can't put them on the ground?
Well, for those necessary moments that we do actually find it appropriate and have the country in conjunction with one another vote on how we use our military forces and actually go through the congressional approval and the steps to have that approved as well. They are there to protect us. We do understand that. But again, we also understand that we don't want to be engaged in these nonsensical, illegal, unconstitutional, and completely destabilizing forever wars with absolutely no goal, no intent, no real justification, and no fucking off-ramp like we've been seeing. Not only that, but again, just the phrase boots on the ground has a negative connotation considering everything that ramps up the second those boots hit the fucking ground. The intent changes, the goals change, the amount of equipment necessary changes, the amount of danger posed to our military fucking servicemen and women completely changes. Like a lot of aspects change in that regard. We start interacting with the population. Negative aspects come from that as well. Not only that, but we know once boots get on the ground, that kind of kicks off the disapproval or the approval rating dropping for that fucking war or for that conflict or police action, whatever bullshit propaganda they want to spew to you as far as what they're undertaking with the U.S. military, right? So again, this guy now is trying to be like, oh, boots on the ground is going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Even though Donald Trump has repeatedly told you that's never going to fucking happen, not even being thought of as we're consistently sending more troops into the Middle East, as we're consistently sending more warships into the Middle East, as we're consistently saying that the bombing campaign is ramping up every single day. Makes no sense considering the rhetoric and the propaganda being espoused by the military leadership in this country.
You can't take that off the table. They need to stop freaking everybody out.
I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground.
My hard red line, boots on the ground.
Jesus Christ, even fucking Fetterman. Holy shit, Greg. I mean, you got to be ashamed of yourself. I mean, if you're using John Fetterman as a fucking clip, one, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Second of all, even he seems to have a red line with boots on the ground, that he understands, again, the ramifications from that and how it gets exponentially worse the second that we undertake that action. Like somebody as fucking mush-brained, right? Somebody as moronic and somebody as maniacal and fucking murderous, genocidal and bloodlust-worthy as this motherfucker is, I can still see that there should be a line in the sand when it comes to boots on the ground. But Greg Kelly can't notice it, doesn't notice it, thinks it's not a problem.
I would get concerned if they start to talk about boots on the ground.
And now the administration apparently is threatening to send ground troops in to Iran, which we know will be a disaster.
How's that for a positive attitude? I think it's unlikely.
How about is it just realism? How about is it just, going based off what we know historically, what we've already seen, the lessons that we've already learned, right? Maybe it's just fucking realism.
Boots on the ground will happen. Boots on the ground. That will send men and women in on foot. All right. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I don't think President Trump is looking for a big war. Maybe a small operation. Who knows? Okay.
He's just looking for a small operation. Craig, what the fuck are you even talking about? What does that mean? The president is just looking for a small operation. Again, at what point do you recognize that this is totally out of Donald Trump's control at this point? Okay. This has gone fucking way above and beyond anything that he has the ability to control or stop or snap his fingers and put back together or anything like that, okay? Too many people have been killed. Too many kids have been killed. Too many war crimes have been committed. Too much destabilization in the region. Too many fucking bad actors are now trying to hop up there and grab power where they can. This ain't gonna fucking end well. Too many people have been displaced in Lebanon, okay? Too many people have been displaced in Iran. Too many people have been struck and killed in the surrounding allied regions. Too many U.S. bases have been hit. Too many U.S. planes have been struck. Too many U.S. service members have lost their fucking lives for Donald Trump to put that toothpaste back into the fucking tube at this point. Again, even if you walked in now and kicked that fucking plug right out of the socket in the wall, things do not fucking change right now, okay? We are still looking at long-term economic impacts suffered by us from this fucking action, without a doubt. It's already been said, I believe, by this administration's energy department, too.
But I'll tell you, this is another horrible legacy of the war in Iraq, right? The war in Iraq was not a good war. It was a great, big, fat mistake.
You mean the one that killed over 1 million Iraqis? You mean that one? You mean the one that was incredibly costly to the American people, not only in lives, but also in dollar amounts as well? Or you're referencing just, again, the over 1 million Iraqis that lost their lives because of our undertaking? I'm just curious why you're referencing this war as being so drastically bad, but not recognizing the one we're actively getting engaged in right now as bad as it is. Like, is just as bad. I don't know. How are you making the distinction between the two? I'm dying to hear this.
One of the many legacies of that war is to make America, like, not just reluctant to send in troops, right? I mean, you need a little bit of reluctance, but almost like it can never happen again. Oh my gosh. Like,
no, it just can't happen. It just can't happen at the fucking whim of a madman. It just can't happen without congressional approval. It just can't happen without the fucking American people actually initiating their voices and speaking up and talking about what they think should happen with the military, right? That's just not how it fucking works. Our representatives in the Congress have the say as far as when we go to fucking war. That's why we elected them. That's why they have that written down as far as those laws are concerned, right? We don't just go to war and send fucking boots on the ground to the Middle East on the whim of a fucking madman or two in Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. That's exactly what we were trying to fucking stop in the first place. That's exactly why we want our fucking country, our military, and our leadership to think twice, think 3 times, think fucking 10 times before they initiate a stupid fucking war like this, before they send our fucking youngest generation into harm's way so that they can lose our life for fucking something that they can't even detail, something that they can't even justify. They don't even have a reason on the fucking front lines. They've told this is God's war. Right? This is a righteous war of God. Okay, what about the other fucking religions? What about all the other people serving in the middle? What are they fighting for, huh? What is the reasoning that they're putting their fucking life on the line right now? To keep Donald Trump's name out of the headlines as far as the Epstein files, to keep fucking Benjamin Netanyahu from seeing his corruption trial, for seeing accountability as far as being a war criminal on the international stage? Because that's what it seems like to fucking everybody else.
That is a legacy of the Iraq war. And of course, politicians overreacting. So many of them supported this. It became a political liability. And now they will never stick their neck out. They'll never take that risk. And sometimes you have to.
It's not your risk to take, asshole. You're not risking shit. It's the fucking men and women on your screen right now that are bleeding profusely that are risking everything, okay? It's us, the American fucking consumer and the American taxpayer that are paying the fucking cost, the price at the pump right now in our daily lives, which were already exponentially too fucking expensive. So fuck you.
Information.
So again, that's Greg Kelly doing his best to justify boots on the ground as far as this is concerned. Even though, again, Donald Trump, even though he's sending more and more troops into the region, will continuously tell you that he's not even contemplating, not even thinking about boots on the ground, which is, again, obviously something that we're going to have to stay closely, tied on to, closely looking at there. But all right, let's dive on to this clip here. And I do appreciate you guys again for joining me. Make sure you hit that like button. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. And again, it's only with your help that we're going to get to 20,000 subscribers. If you're not subscribed, if you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, even if you disagree with a lot of the things that I'm saying, if you disagree with the way I go about it, hit that subscribe button. Leave me a bad comment. Leave me a thumbs down. It's all engagement. All goes to show the algorithm that you guys are engaged, and maybe they'll share it out to people that actually do enjoy the show. But all right, let's dive into a little bit of James O'Brien. We got 2 clips here from James O'Brien. Just a little bit from this first one where he says Trump's words are deranged, dishonest, and disgusting. And again, laying down the facts here in both of these videos is only James O'Brien can do. And again, big fans here of James O'Brien. Love the work that he does. His ability to kind of just call it as it is, even with being so far removed from American politics. Again, not his kind of first indulgence. Obviously, the British politics side of things is what he's particularly focused on. But again, even with this, has the moral clarity, has the ability to say and recognize the same things that we're recognizing here on Blunt Politics and calling it out in a very similar way, which is, again, why we respect the shit out of James and appreciate his commentary. But again, here's just a couple minutes from this first video titled Deranged, Dishonest, and Disgusting. And then there's this next video in which he details that this was incredibly predictable. And then he talks about why did Trump do it. So we'll jump into that one as well. Just a couple minutes from both, if you'll allow me. All right, let's jump into this one. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button if you haven't already, all right?
Have a listen to this. There's something obvious here, which is Trump's absolute unfitness for office. But there's something also quite extraordinary given the context in which he has chosen to talk about Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. Check this out.
The President of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia, everything about him is dumb.
Yeah, you heard that correctly. And we're back to that little effigy made out of toilet paper that he's talking to in a private room off the Oval Office, because this is him in the Oval Office. Listen, for the avoidance of doubt, Gavin Newsom is the governor of California and Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America, right? And this happened yesterday.
The President of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia, everything about him is dumb.
So that's probably what, like third or fourth on the fucking top 5 or 10 things that Donald Trump said that were completely disrespectful this week. Probably within like the top 20. I know that Pearl Harbor thing's got to be way up there as far as, you know, the response and return of the Japanese reporter's question there about not notifying the allies about the attack. And Donald Trump came back with, well, if anybody should know about surprise, obviously it would be Japan because they didn't tell him about Pearl Harbor, which, again, unless you're an absolute fucking numpty and find just the dumbest things to be hilarious, then, again, makes absolutely no sense if you know your fucking history. Clearly not the same country, clearly not the same leadership, clearly not the same government, and clearly we have a different relationship than we did, when Pearl Harbor, was a situation back then. So again, just a kind of ridiculous thing. Even Donald Trump wasn't a fucking alive back then. Wasn't born until 1946. So it doesn't make sense. The reporter wasn't alive. The PM wasn't alive. Like, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. Completely disrespectful, out of bounds, and just like a ridiculous, like middle school reply that you'd hear probably either from a middle school or from the alcoholic at the end of the fucking bar stool, right? That's just kind of spewing the nonsense because he's there every single fucking day. But again, we go on.
That's deranged, right? Here's the classic lie.
Other presidents should have done. I spoke to one of the former presidents who I actually like. I actually speak to some. I do like some people. It would be shocking.
Bullshit. And again, this is where, James O'Brien's going through deranged, dishonest, and disgusting. So the first one was deranged. This one's dishonest, where he's just outright lying about talking to some former president that was so happy about the undertaking and was telling Donald Trump that, oh my God, doesn't he wish that he went to war with Iran like Donald Trump did? Because, if he only had the balls to do it, if he only had the sack to do it, he would have done it as well, which is just complete and utter bullshit.
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
Right? I mean, come on. Just who is it? Who is it then? Just tell us who it is. If you're really that confident, if it's a true statement, tell us who it was. But again, we go on.
And he said, I wish I did what you did. Could have done it.
Oh, thank you, fucking Peter. Let's go, brother. Let's go. I see you in there. Peter gifting 50 Boston Brian memberships in the chat. Let's fucking go, Peter. W. Peter in the chat. Shout out to Peter. Big ups to Peter. Respect to Peter. Let's fucking go. That means 50 individuals in that chat right now have just been gifted a Boston Brian membership for a month just because of the kindness and the generosity of Peter. Let's fucking go. And everybody stick around to the end of the show. We always highlight, we always thank, we always make sure to, show our appreciation for everybody that either sent in a Venmo or gifted memberships or sent in a super chat or reached a milestone. Again, so if it goes by in the chat during the show, don't get frustrated. Just hang around to the end and we make sure to go through every single one of them so you guys get your moment in the sun. All right. You guys deserve it. So Peter, big shout out to you. W. Peter's in the chat. W. Peter.
Presidents. Somebody should have done it. 47 years this went on. They call Iran the bully of the Middle East.
So you have there an example of him being deranged and an example of him being a liar. Here's an example of him being both at the same time.
If I didn't terminate Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal, you would right now well, Israel would be gone. It would be incinerated, and probably the Middle East likewise. And remember, they have all of
You guys
those
catching
missiles.
that? You guys catching that? If we had still Obama's Iran nuclear deal, which again allowed cameras in there, allowed inspectors in there, allowed the fucking, the material to be followed from the second it got taken out of the ground to the moment it was used at its final destination. Like if that was allowed to have stayed in place, would have no Middle East, would have no more Israel. They would just be completely wiped off the face of the map because of the Iran nuclear deal. That again allowed, inspectors, that allowed cameras, that allowed following all of the material from basically start to fucking finish, so that we had a record and could know what was going on. But again, apparently the entire Middle East would have gone up in flames had we continued that partnership.
And I heard they were sending missiles to UAE.
Listen to this. It's fucking unbelievable, too. If you need more evidence to suggest that this guy had absolutely no clue what he was doing, no clue what he was going to be facing in retaliation, none of the military strategy that he would have to know before undertaking a mission like this and what could happen, what the secondary impacts would be, what else he would need to defend. We talked about that report where Donald Trump was like so fucking sure that the Iranian leadership would just capitulate in the first hours, in the first minutes of this war, right? That he didn't even need to think about the Strait of Hormuz. He didn't need to think about any of the other straits that the Iranian proxies could control. He didn't need to think about the threats to the U.S. air bases or military bases in the region. He didn't need to think about the threats to our allies in the region. He didn't need to think about the amount of interceptors our allies or Israel had to undertake a prolonged war against Iran, taking on their ballistic missiles, taking on their drones consistently. None of that. And he also didn't think that any retaliation would come from this. He's really, really shocked that, Qatar and the UAE are seeing like missiles come into their territory, even though it was widely reported by the Iranians that they would fucking be striking all of these territories that still or now had a U.S. military base affiliated with them or had allied ships or had partnerships with the United States. They would be targeted. So this is well fucking known. This is no secret. Again, the war plans, the war gaming that must have gone on for, situations just like this would absolutely show not only what the Iranians would go for, in retaliation, but also the impacts that it would have. I mean, that's just what those fucking things are meant to do. But again, here's Donald Trump talking about how he was just utterly fucking shocked that these nations are now having to defend themselves.
That's strange. UAE is like the banker for Iran. They're like the banker. Qatar, their neighbors, they got along okay. Saudi Arabia. All of a sudden, Kuwait is getting hit. Bahrain is all these countries are getting hit. There was no expert that would say that was going to happen.
I'm sorry. No expert could have told you that the Iranians would retaliate against areas and nations that had U.S. bases. Nobody could have told you that was coming. You have nobody right now in your military leadership that could have told you that that was going to be a thing. Well, guess what you need to do? You need to fucking fire every single motherfucker now stationed or now, positioned in your military leadership. Sorry. If that's what you're going to come out and espouse, that nobody told you that this was going to be a thing, then you were surrounded by even more incompetent sons of bitches than we even thought previously, okay? Because that is insanity on a level fucking yet unseen by Donald Trump, as far as this is concerned. To enact something this dangerous with this much fucking, that poses this much danger and poses this much threat to the world economy without having any fucking recollection, without having any instance or, even fucking, thought of what may be coming in retaliation, just goes to show you the incompetency. And again, the lack of leadership, the lack of anything being shown right now by this administration. It really is fucking crazy. Who could have seen that coming? What military expert could have told you that Iran would retaliate against nations that had U.S. bases? It's just crazy. It's almost like you could have been watching Blunt Politics right here and kind of found that out well before we even engaged in this war.
It's not a question of gee, should you have known? And if we did know, big deal. I mean, we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, and even if we did know that they were going to be struck, who cares, right? Big fucking whoop, just because we had thousands and thousands of Americans trapped in the region, just because we've seen, death and destruction and war crimes and kids being killed. Like, who gives a shit? Maybe we did know that these allied regions would be attacked. Maybe we did know they don't have enough interceptors to last a long, prolonged war against these Iranian attacks that they're consistently seeing now. Maybe we did know that, and we just didn't give a shit. That's literally what he's saying. Literally what the fuck he's saying here. It's either we didn't know, nobody could have known it, or we did know and we didn't give a shit. That's what he just said. That's literally what he just said.
Deranged and lying there. Then we move on to, I think, mostly deranged.
Again, we'll end this video, this clip here on this one, where he's gone over deranged, he's gone over dishonest, he's gone over deranged and dishonest, and now he'll end it here with disgusting. So this is the disgusting part of the rhetoric by Donald Trump. Here we go.
And this is, of course, what happens when deranged overshadows lying. This is him being deranged and you wishing, or at least hoping, that he's lying. So have a look at how well things are going in Iran and ask yourself what you'd do next.
I think Cuba, in its own way, if tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of.
I do believe I'll be the honor of taking over Cuba. Like, okay, Winston. All right, way to fucking lay that down thick. Okay, way to way to make that memorable for history's sake. That was really a strong and alpha-like statement. I may be one to take over Cuba.
Taking Cuba, that'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time. Very violent leaders.
Little echo there. I don't know if you picked up on it, on how he talks about women when he is owning up to sexually assaulting them for fun. You can do anything you want when you're famous. He's taken that attitude and now deployed it in the context of international relations. So we've got deranged, dishonest, deranged and dishonest, deranged. It's disgusting.
Prime Minister of UK, United Kingdom, yesterday told me I'm meeting with my team to make a determination. I said, you don't need to meet it with the team. You're the prime minister. You can make your own. Why do you have to meet with your team to find out whether or not you're going to send some?
I don't know, because typically people with any amount of fucking brains in their dome piece would likely go and say, maybe I should consult some lawyers, or maybe I should consult some, I don't know, military experts, or maybe I should consult my fucking constituents before I send the military into a war that we didn't initiate, that we don't understand, that we don't know the justification or the goals of. It just seems to be the sensible thing to do. And again, as much as we have our issues with Keir Starmer, and as much as we think he's been kind of an outright failure as far as what we kind of had hoped. And again, James O'Brien would be the first one to tell you that. I think he was, big on the Keir Starmer train and what he could do and should do when he got into power. And again, everybody is kind of like that Jonathan Fry video we saw the other day or played the other day, where, he didn't mince words at all in how much of a failure he thinks Keir Starmer has been anyway. But again, in this regard, in this situation, seems to be approaching this sensibly, and not just saying, okay, yes, let me send my military in without, again, talking to the parliament or talking to lawyers or talking to our military experts or talking to the constituency and seeing what they, think should be done with the military, right? He just thinks that everybody's a dictator, everybody's an autocrat, everybody's an authoritarian and can do anything they fucking want because they got Pam Bondi, they got Todd Blanche, they got Kash Patel, right? They got Tulsi Gabbard. Well, they might have Tulsi Gabbard for at least some time to come, as we'll be reporting. Maybe it's being speculated that her resignation might be next after Joe Kent's. You never know. We'll see later. We'll check out those clips. But again, all of these people, that are out there talking about how Donald Trump has now kind of switched the plan here, and now all of a sudden this is something that we should be undertaking. It's pretty clear to see exactly why they've been doing that. So again, this is Donald Trump making it seem like Keir Starmer should have just said on his own, without consulting anybody, that they were going to send in the UK military to support the United States in this.
Minesweepers to us or to send some boats. I said, you don't have to meet with your team. It's the same thing here. I can tell you that when this is over, oil prices are going to go down very, very rapidly. So is inflation. So is everything else.
I mean, off the top of my head, people you might want to consult before undertaking a war like that would include your military and your lawyers.
Yeah, makes sense, right? But that's how sensible people think, James. That's just kind of what people with two brain cells to rub together would come out as, an outcome, a determination from that. All right, let's dive on to this next clip here, because, again, just a couple minutes from this next one where James O'Brien is accurately calling out the predictability of this. And, again, we told you this before this war was undertaken. You could go back, you can replay it. People that have watched this show consistently can attest to this, where we told you this is not going to be a Venezuela campaign. This is not going to be the Caracas cakewalk, as we called it. This is going to be a much different campaign. We could already tell just by the established forces in the area. Not only that, but the stated goals. Not only that, but the difference in terrain, the difference in where they have to strike, the difference in capabilities, the difference in air defenses, the difference in missiles, the difference in drones. I mean, the whole fucking 9 yards was pretty easy to see from the beginning that this was not going to be, the Caracas cakewalk that went in, got Maduro, and we were out in a couple hours, right? This is just, it was very clear to anybody that had a head on their shoulders that this was going to be vastly different. And that's exactly what we've seen. Right. So this was so utterly predictable that even channels with less than 20,000 subscribers in them, of people that don't have, political science degrees, that didn't go to school and study, they're not political majors in any right, that they could see it clearly enough to suggest that this was going to be a very demoralizing, this was going to be a very damaging and dangerous thing to undertake. And it was not going to be quick. It was not going to be easy. And it was not going to be anything like getting Maduro out. Okay, the only thing that's similar is the fact that, the Maduro regime is still in place in Venezuela. And right now, the Khomeini regime is still in place there in Iran. And as we talked about, this regime they love to talk about as like a living, breathing organism is not something that can be killed, specifically by itself. The regime is just who they put in place. The regime is the people that they have an enormous amount of people in the country to continue to pull from, to interject and to install new leaders in whatever position that Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu continue to assassinate people in. So again, let's just dive into this. This is James O'Brien. Iran was predictable, so why did Trump do it? And again, just a minute or two of this. See if we can get any further insight. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button.
Can I just clarify something I said to you a moment ago? I said ordinary people are tempted to look away. What I mean by that, and by the way, I am an ordinary person in the context of that comment. If I didn't do this for a living, the temptation to spend the entire weekend replaying the whole of Ghost of Yotei on the PlayStation would be almost irresistible. And it is, of course, what is brilliantly reflected in that Leonardo DiCaprio film, Don't Look Up, although that is an allegory for climate change. It could just as easily be a war that threatens the security of the entire world. Question number one, how plausible is it to you that Benjamin Netanyahu would imperil the financial security, let alone the physical security of the entire world in order to keep his own sorry backside out of jail? I just wonder how plausible it is, because if it's not plausible, you haven't been paying attention. That's before we even turn our attention to Donald Trump and the likelihood of him undertaking something spectacularly stupid because of vibes or because of the last person that he spoke to making it sound like a good idea. It's so hideously dispiriting before you even register the personal impact, and thank whatever God you believe in that you don't personally face a flesh and blood threat at the moment, although loved ones might, friends might, family members might. The impact will hit us through our purses and our wallets, through our bank balances and our mortgages, and it is already beginning to pinch. It is already beginning to sting, and I am very, very, very sorry to tell you that it is only going to get worse. Full stop. Fact. Before it gets better. If and when it does begin to get better. And it has all been undertaken for reasons, and this is the thing, right? This is the thing that all of these weirdos, and another word that begins with W that I'm not allowed to say on the radio, are blind to or ignorant.
I'm going to go with wanker. Let me know in the chat what you think the W word is that they're not allowed to say on British radio. I'm going with wanker. Is Yvonne in the chat? Yvonne, are you with us, dear? Let me know if Yvonne's in the chat, because Yvonne would probably best to ask on this one. So if Yvonne's in there, let Yvonne know we need her expertise on this one. I'm going with Wanka. Okay, that's my guess.
Or deliberately refusing to address. It was so obvious from the very start that letting these men lead an event like this without any rationale, any plan, any off-ramp, any justification, whether legal or moral, was going to end in disaster. The only question was, how big will this disaster be? And all of the weirdos and the word that begins with W that I can't say on the radio, writing their pathetic little columns in the Daily Telegraph or the Daily Mail, or appearing on television or the radio to talk about how they've never been more ashamed to be British, or Keir Starmer should grow a pair and be more like Donald Trump, or I wish he was our leader. It is absolutely inconceivable that these people are still employed. In fact, it's arguably inconceivable that they're still at liberty. Such is the scale of their treachery and their betrayal of the national interest. It was visible from space how this was going to play out from the very first moment. Keir Starmer could see it. Didn't do the best job in the world of explaining it, but my God, he did a much better job of understanding it than anybody else in the political sphere in this country. And still the question hasn't been answered. Why are they doing it? Do you know what Netanyahu said most recently? He said most recently, we won't be able to change the regime from the sky. When Keir Starmer said that a couple of weeks ago, he was essentially called a quisling by the weirdos and that word that begins with W that I'm not allowed to say on the radio.
Quisling being another word for a traitor, a collaborator. Vidkun Quisling was another World War II collaborator, Nazi collaborator. So that's what he meant when he was being called, Keir Starmer was being called a Quisling for not having backed the United States right off the bat, or again, not explaining it in the way that Donald Trump would have liked him to explain it, I guess.
Dominate public discourse in this country, not just in the political benches, not just the weirdo Tories and the W word I can't say on the radio, Reform UK people, but the media. So much of the media now was on side with it, not just on side with this.
I don't know, judging by what the fucking British people get away with putting on television, what is it, after like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m.? Quisling, not Jesus, Chris. Get your mind out of the gutter, for Christ's sakes. Although that is pretty funny. But no, not what I said. Quisling, Vidkun Quisling. Fucking Christ. You guys probably can't understand who with their accents. Let me see here. Here we go. This guy. Thanks for making me giggle there in the thanks for making me giggle in the chat there, Chris, though. I appreciate you. But no, it's this asshole, Vidkun Quisling, military officer and former Minister of Defense of Norway. Big time piece of shit. Big time piece of shit.
Opposed to their own country, opposed to their own prime minister, their own government, at a time of international peril, when Keir Starmer, for all his faults, got absolutely everything right and continues to do so. Because the next big question number 4, which demands a different answer to question number 1, which needed a different answer to question number 2, which has a different answer to question number 3. Question number 4 will be about the Strait of Hormuz if things like this continue. I'll go with Wazzocks. We can go with Wazzocks, can't we? I think it has to begin with W. A few of you are suggesting rhyming slang, but I think bankers get a tough time. No, I don't. But we'll get...
Okay, so we got it. He says bankers, so obviously it's definitely wankers that we're concerned. But he's right about everything that he was saying in this clip, right? He's right about how obvious this was from space. He's right about that any fucking human being on Earth that was paying attention, even the slightest bit, could have recognized not only the retaliation that was definitely to come, but also the secondary impacts and the hurt put on the world economy. Not only that, but the places in which Iran would try to target because they didn't have the capabilities. Again, as we continue to say here, they don't need this overwhelming U.S. force or, overwhelming force to combat the United States military one for one. They don't need this blitzkrieg type of offensive. They don't need a Leningrad type of siege, right, to put on there. They don't need any of this stuff. So we continue to say what they can do with a lot less than we have in the area right now is enough to continuously impact, the economy on the world stage, and to put enough pressure on everybody to make sure that they want to see their leaders, disengage from this war. So again, great points made by James. We appreciate his content. We appreciate him kind of chiming in as he does there on U.S. politics, because he's typically spot the fuck on in that regard. Again, even more so than people that supposedly pay attention to U.S. politics for a living. That guy has to do both UK and the rest of what's going on in Europe and still manages to be more clear-eyed about what's taking place in the United States than most of the mainstream media here in the States. All right, let's dive on to a little bit of Tulsi Gabbard. And if you guys can, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, guys. Let's get there before midterms. Let's see if we can rock the GOP with not only a little bit of success from here at Blunt Politics, but also with the fucking ass kicking in the midterms as well. That would be just a double dose of fucking fun, wouldn't it? All right, let's get into a little bit of Tulsi Gabbard because Laura Loomer apparently has the inside scoop, guys. Apparently, Tulsi Gabbard's time is about to come to an end, as reported by Laura Loomer. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger on your screen here. Blow it up just a touch. Is that a little easier for you guys to read? So Laura Loomer says scoop. Again, this is apparently the few minutes that Laura Loomer doesn't spend on her knees on Air Force One. She took the time out to write this tweet. So give her a little time and some grace as far as this is concerned. But Tulsi Gabbard's political staff expect that she is about to resign following the resignation of her colleague, Joe Kent. Of course, Joe Kent, who resigned in disgust, who resigned and basically had that, that letter that basically called out every single piece of propaganda that the Trump administration was using to justify this war. I believe he was the head of counterterrorism, if I'm not mistaken, in that regard. This comes after 2 days of her testimony in front of Congress this week, where she never once expressed support for President Trump or his decisions. Instead, she used her time during the hearings to affirm President Trump's right to make decisions as President of the United States, making it clear she doesn't support those decisions. Despite what she is telling the White House, one of her closest advisors anticipates her resignation is coming soon. President Trump should not allow Gabbard the dignity of a resignation, followed by her immediately trashing him on MSDNC, the CNN, The View, and Tucker Carlson's podcast. So again, this coming from Laura Loomer, apparently, reportedly, got the inside scoop that Tulsi Gabbard is next in line out the door after Joe Kent. And again, this is even after the days of testimony that she gave in front of Congress, which we'll take a look at a couple clips now. Before we do that, I want to remind you guys of what she posted January 3rd, 2020. Right? This is Tulsi Gabbard, 2020, January of 2020. So early on in 2020, we do not seek regime change, in quotes. Trump declares, she states, as he escalates his regime change war against Iran. Neocons like Graham and Bolton are cheering. To all who voted for Trump because of his anti-war rhetoric, it's time you realized he lied to you. Stand with me against Trump's Iran war. Again, just to show the little bit of hypocrisy, the complete 180 that has been done by a lot of these sycophants here. Another great example would be obviously J.D. Vance once calling Donald Trump America's Hitler, and obviously now the furthest up in Donald Trump's asshole. So again, you can see how the things change, how time changes people. Their names change even, apparently. But here's a couple moments from her testimony in front of Congress. And just kind of I know there was a lot of moments. There's a lot of clips coming out of this. I just picked two that kind of detail the lies that were being told and how she was forced to kind of acknowledge this in front of Congress here. This is when John Ossoff, and it says, it's stated here by Blue Georgia, John Ossoff really nails her here. Ossoff, as a result of last summer's airstrikes, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was, quote, obliterated. Tulsi Gabbard says that's right. Ossoff goes on to say there has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Correct. And Tulsi Gabbard says that's right. So again, flying directly in contravention to everything that we're being told by, Lindsey Graham, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the rest of these fucking genocidal neocon freaks that continuously want to see more and more blood being shed in the area. But let's go on and play this clip here by Tulsi.
The law states that the national intelligence you provide to Congress, quote, should be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations, correct?
Yes.
And you noted in your opening statement you're here fulfilling a statutory responsibility and that your testimony, quote, represents the IC's assessment of threats,
That's right.
Correct? That opening statement, as submitted to the committee in advance of this hearing, stated that as a result of last summer's airstrikes, quote, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And is that in fact the assessment of the intelligence community?
Yes.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes.
Yes.
And the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also stated, quote, There has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And that's the assessment of the intelligence community.
Yes.
And again, that is so flying in the face of everything that we've been told, and is so obviously telling about the lies that this administration is using to justify this ongoing illegal fucking war that we're engaged in, this ridiculously destabilizing war that we're now currently engaged in, is being told here by Tulsi Gabbard, again, DNI, sitting here saying that the intel shows that no, they didn't even attempt to start rebuilding their nuclear program after the strikes that Donald Trump already undertaken. Not only that, but this is above and beyond the time where Tulsi Gabbard, I believe in 2025, I want to say last year, testified to the fact that the enrichment program was paused in 2003 by the Ayatollah, and that there's no intelligence to suggest that it had been restarted since. I believe that was March something of 2025. She testified to that, which directly led to Donald Trump calling her out and rebuking what she said and basically saying she doesn't know what she's talking about. You'll remember that, right? Well, there's another clip here from one of these meetings that she had where she's basically forced to admit that not only are we more destabilized now, not only is the situation more precarious now, not only is the leadership probably going to be less amenable to working with the United States and the Western allies than we were just before this, but also that everything right now is not going the way that the Trump administration and Pete Hegseth is kind of laying it out for you to believe. Okay, she says here, Tulsi Gabbard says Iran's new supreme leader, Khamenei, is widely viewed as more hardline than his father. Another thing that we've been consistently saying on this show, that is not going to lead to better relations, that is not going to lead to more stability, right? Gabbard adds that the U.S. is now less certain about Iran's leadership and intentions than it was before the war. So we were in a better situation while we were negotiating with the former Ayatollah than anything that we could fucking point to right now. And this is, again, Tulsi Gabbard being forced to admit that in front of Congress. Let's see if we can take a look.
Mujtaba, the son, is particularly close to the brutal Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and their most hardline commanders, correct?
That is the intelligence community assessment.
He was involved in ordering violent crackdowns on Iranian protesters, including their murder, correct?
Yes.
And we don't know if the son will continue his father's religious ban on developing nuclear weapons. Is that correct?
It is unknown at this time.
You testified before this committee last year that the elder, now deceased Khamenei, had in 2003 banned the nuclear weapons program or suspended it, correct?
There was a fatwa in place that stated that.
And that fatwa remained in place last year when you testified before this committee, correct?
Yes.
And that fatwa remained in place recently, correct?
As far as I know, it has not been lifted.
Yeah, you're aware of no information that would lift that fatwa.
I'm not aware of any intelligence reporting that states that. To be clear on the Mojtaba, the son who has been named to replace him, it is unclear of his status or his involvement. He was injured very severely through one of the Israeli strikes. And so the decision-making is unclear about what's happening in the Iranian leadership.
So it's unclear. So we're less certain of the positions of Iranian leadership and their intentions than we were 60 days ago, correct?
That's an accurate assessment.
Fucking believable. Again, said in Congress under testimony there by the DNI, basically going against everything that this administration is now claiming is the facts of the matter. But again, this is Tulsi Gabbard, who has had ties to Bashar al-Assad, who we know has ties to Vladimir Putin. Again, we take a look at this, and it's very telling that the Russian state TV is so happy to use all of Tulsi Gabbard's kind of footage and basically talk about how much of a friend she is to Russia. When, again, we look back at all of the, the dealings, her secret meeting with Bashar al-Assad, obviously Bashar al-Assad, we saw where he fled to after the fall of his government in Syria, went right into the arms of Putin. We also know about the connections before that. So again, there's a lot of been, not only that, but we could put together the Kremlin talking points, the Russian propaganda that Tulsi Gabbard is known for spewing. So it doesn't surprise us to see that, again, Russian Media was able to put together a clip of Russian state television actually talking about how nobody is a friend except for Tulsi Gabbard. Let's just see if we can check this quick clip out. Only 34 seconds here, but check about how lovingly they embrace Tulsi Gabbard, and you gotta think twice as to why they'd be so willing to use this. Obviously, we put together the ties with Assad and Putin and the secret meetings that they've had. You can only come to one conclusion as to who she might be working for in this regard. So here again, only about 34 seconds. This is Russian media monitor putting together a clip on Russian state television talking about Tulsi Gabbard as a friend. It says a team of inexperienced but loyal hawks. Ultra loyalist, as the American media calls them. All of them are young compared to Trump. All of them personally despise Zelensky, and you'll notice that Elise Stefanik is up there. Just to make sure that we point that out. That's Elise Stefanik, making sure that she gets her fucking shots in there, that bitch. They aren't friends of Russia except for Tulsi Gabbard. Let me get out of the way so you guys can see the full extent of the captions there. Look at what it says there. None of them are friends of Russia except Tulsi Gabbard. Huh. Now, that's strange that Russian state television would go on and say that about somebody now serving as the DNI to the United States. Seems like an odd fucking relationship. Seems like a lot of these people have been very amenable, have been, very kind of over-friendly with the Russian delegation, with the Russians and Vladimir Putin. So for them to come out and say that none of these people, Hegseth, Rubio, Kristi Noem, the rest of these morons that are known to you guys, are friends of Russia, but Tulsi Gabbard should go to tell you a little bit of something. It says Director of National Intelligence. She was nominated today, and again, we're just talking about them using this clip. She was considered a lobbyist for Putin's interests, it says down the bottom. She was considered a lobbyist for Putin's interests. And blamed for spreading Kremlin narratives, because that's exactly what she did.
Кремлевские, как сейчас модно говорить, нарративы. Команду неопытных,
So again, that's just a short clip there you can see of Russian state media being more than happy, more than willing to use. And you can see, look at what he's standing on. Look at what he's standing on. A big shot of Trump on the floor there. What is that? Is that Elon Musk or J.D. Vance right next to him? The 47th president, it says on the floor here on the Russian state television. Everything, what's it say? Everything in life is luck. I think it says under that. I'm not sure really what the reference to that is. But all right, let's see if we can dive on to the last story. We'll wrap up after this one. But again, just to detail a little bit of the ongoing, ridiculousness and the ongoing kind of rise that we've seen in the death toll on the Russian loss side. Here's another one. Remember the other day how we showed how the Russian losses were up to about 1,710, I think they were, on the 18th. And we wanted to see if that was something that was going to continue. We talked about the Russian offensives that were likely supposed to be kicking off, the spring offensives that they were likely undertaking, which was leading to these. But this is the Russian losses as of March 20th, right? And look at the number there. Another 1,610 Russian troops either eliminated totally from the battlefield or removed because they were severely injured in that regard. So again, another 1,000 over 1,500 Russian soldiers eliminated from the battlefield in a 24-hour period. Goes to show you that these numbers probably may stay consistent as long as the Russians are consistently failing in their objectives, consistently failing in their offensives, and the Ukrainians still have the ability to fight back, take back territory, use the incredible amount of drones that they have up there right now to their benefit. So again, just to show you that it wasn't a fluke, just to show you that, this was something that likely, as the weather decides to get better, as the weather and the ground thaws, is something that may be a constant seemingly for the Russian military as far as losses are concerned. Another 21 AFVs, another 245 vehicles and fuel tanks. Again, 24-hour period here we're talking about. Another 3 tanks, 31 artillery systems, 1,400 drones. I mean, these numbers are ridiculous. Another 4 pieces of special equipment. Again, to pick that, let's see if we can dive into a little bit of Artur Rahi's video he put out today talking about Putin is hiding in his bunker after what USA and Israel did to Khamenei. He details a little bit of the actions by Ukraine in the last couple days, I want to say, in the intro, in the first couple minutes of this as well. So let's see if we can dive into this, see if we can get any insight as to why and how the Russian losses have remained that high for at least the last few days. So let's see if we can dive into it.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Russia started their spring offensive. We're talking 2026, the biggest offensive of the year. They started it on the 17th of March on the 100 kilometers wide frontal area. This is a massive, huge area, and they have been gathering forces there for months. This has,
and again, which is a clear indication as to why. It's a clear reason why we're continuously seeing the Russian losses in this area. I mean, if you're consistently trying to put together an offensive on a 100-mile stretch of the front, and those offensives aren't going very well, it kind of gives us a reason as to why we're seeing the uptick in Russian losses so far.
It's been reported many times by many Ukrainian officers that something's about to happen, and it did. It just happens. And now we already have the first days of Russian losses of their new spring offensive. I bring to you 18th of March, Russian losses of the 24 hours, 1,710 troops wounded and KIA combined, of course. This is insane. It's a record over a very, very long time. Let's go to 19th of March, 1,520 KIA and WIA. I mean, this combines over 48 hours, 3,200 good Russians. That's insane. Their spring offensive for the first.
Again, putting together the numbers that we just saw from the 20th as well. Christ with the muting. Stop muting me, you goddamn vertical son of a bitch. Sorry about that. But as we can see here by the Russian losses as of the 20th, you put those numbers on top of the ones that Arthur was just talking about, and we're talking about some 4,500 plus Russian soldiers that have been eliminated from the battlefield in just the last 3 days alone. I mean, just to kind of show you just how much success right now that the Ukrainians are seeing in, having effect on the offensives that the Russians are trying to put together on this 100-mile front. He'll go on to show you how the Russian media bloggers themselves are being forced to kind of show the success that the Ukrainians are having, and even kind of depicting an encirclement by the Ukrainians. Again, something that you're not typically used to seeing by, again, the Russian media bloggers, the Russian war bloggers. They typically try to propagandize what's happening on the front to the best of their ability. But again, as Arthur goes on here, he'll kind of depict what even the Russian media bloggers are having to admit.
Hey, don't take my word for it. Look at the Russian military blogger's Rebar. That's his name.
And I'll get out of the way.
Map. He posted this map on the 18th, one day after the.
So again, this is Russian military blogger talking about, and you can see here, let me see if I can put my, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but if you can see the yellow region, which is depicting the Ukrainians' advancement. And then obviously you can see where even they're now depicting that Russian soldiers are having the, the threat, or they have the ability to be encircled here. Again, not something that you're likely to see from the Russian military bloggers unless it's actively and definitely taking place on the front. I mean, this is a pretty good indication of, the Russian troops not having success in the area, which is, again, not something. Fucking Christ, this motherfucker mutes me one more time. God damn it. What I'm saying is that this is not typically something that you are seeing from the Russian military bloggers. Like, they are not apt to tell you about the Ukrainian successes unless that is exactly what's taking place on the front, and they cannot deny the reality because so many people have been reporting on it. So again, this is showing you that the Ukrainians not only having successes against the Russians on the front, but also seemingly showing the ability they have of encircling the Russian troops as well. So if you can see basically just above where my head would be right here, you can see where it's detailed the Russian troops having the kind of danger of being encircled. And again, this is by a Russian military blogger, somebody that has all the motive and ability in the world to propagandize what's going on in the front to make it seem like the Russians are having more success, and even they're having to detail it in this way. So my apologies on the muting. I don't know why. Every time I start the video, it mutes me for some reason.
Grand offensive started, and it doesn't show a Russian offensive, it shows a Ukrainian counter-offensive. Look at that. In the Russian spring offensive, we see Ukrainians actually surrounding a certain area in the Zaporizhia front line. In this area, there are villages like Oleksivka, Verbove, Stepove, Berezove, Kalnivske, and some others. Ukrainians have not linked up yet, but the fact that they are penetrating so deep into Russian-controlled areas is of course connected to the disabling of Telegram, disabling of Starlink, and Ukrainians using that to their advantage.
All things that we've talked about at length as far as kind of contributing to the recent successes from the Ukrainians. Again, not only the Starlink, but the lack of use, or the the kind of the Russian military, the Russian government's trying to limit the use of Telegram and trying to get everybody on the Max app that they want to have everybody be controlled under, so that they can see what you're searching. They could have access to your camera, so they could have access to your microphone and listen to what you guys are talking about. That's what they're trying to push people. So we've seen a huge effect on the front line as far as the lack of communication. We've seen a lot of blue on blue, friendly fire on the Russian side, because they don't have the ability to communicate with the people coming up on their position. So they don't know if they're friendlies. They don't know if it's enemies. They don't know what's going on. So inevitably you've seen an uptick in blue on blue and friendly fire as well, with the kind of chaos and confusion that has, the Russian front has been thrown into as of late, with the lack of communication skills here.
So to summarize this up, Russian spring offensive, not going very well for them, not very good at all. Just to show you a bit of a grander scale where the offensive is taking place, where this is the 100-kilometer wide axis towards the Zaporizhia Oblast, where the Russians are now pushing with meat assaults. And if I say meat assaults, I literally mean because they're also on horseback. You heard correctly. On horses. Some of the Russians are on horses because the horses are fast. They can traverse sometimes where the ATVs or Chinese desert cross golf cars cannot.
So again, that's just kind of showing you and detailing why we've seen the uptick, the major uptick in Russian losses over the last few days, detailing why that's taken place. But before I get you guys out of here, before we start thanking people for their contributions, I just want to steer you, if I can, to this video. Let me see if I can pull this up just for a second, because good friend of the show, Ken Harbaugh, did an absolutely fantastic job in one of his recent videos. Let me see if I can pull this up. If he's got it listed here. Yeah, here it is right here. I'm going to throw this on the screen. Fucking Christ. Did it mute me again? The son of a bitch. I'm going to throw this thing out the window. I really am going to throw this fucking thing out the window. I don't know. Every time I pull it did it again. Fucking hell. All right, let me throw this on the screen. My apologies. We don't have to play the video, so I don't have to stay muted. But this was very well done by Valor Media. Ken Harbaugh, who took a trip into some pretty dangerous places inside of Ukraine to follow along with the drone hunting units that are going around, walking around on the streets of places like Kherson. I believe he was in Odessa as well. So again, this is Valor Media, Drone Hunters of Kherson. And this is extremely well done by Ken. It goes to show you in detail exactly what they go through on the front and in some of these cities that are really close to the front lines and are constantly under threat of not only Russian artillery, but Russian drone attack as well. So shout out to Ken Harbaugh for the work that he did on this. Shout out to everybody on his team that put this together. And again, it's titled Drone Hunters of Kherson, and that's put out by Valor Media. You can check that out on his Valor Media network. And again, it's about, I think, 17 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's about 17. It's about 17 minutes and 40 seconds long. This thing just does not want me looking at YouTube whatsoever. It gets mad at me every time I look at YouTube. But again, shout out to Ken for doing this amazing work and keeping us informed on what's taking place on the front as well. So I just wanted to make sure that we're giving credit where credit is due to the people working hard to keep us informed and putting themselves in harm's way to make sure that you guys get the shots and the access that will give you the reality of what's taking place on the front as well. So appreciate Ken for doing that. Let's see if we can get into thanking some people, and we'll get you guys out of here for the day. I do appreciate you guys. I really do. All the support that you guys have shown to the show, all the support and kind words that you guys have shown me over the years of doing this. Again, if you guys would be kind enough to kind of subscribe to the channel, if you find yourself watching a lot and you're not subscribed, see if you can click that button. It doesn't cost you a single cent. it just goes to help the old algorithm let you know that that you guys care about what you're watching, you like what you're watching enough where you're subscribed to the channel. So let's get into thanking some people that were kind enough to send a Venmo. You can send a Venmo up here right in the corner. All we ask for is a buck or two, guys. Nothing much above and beyond that. I know we're in very unstable financial times, and everybody's going to have to be thinking ahead. So I'm under no illusions that you guys have the ability to continue to contribute to all of the shows that you watch, and everybody asks you to contribute all of the funds, all of the things. I know that you cannot do it. So if you can just share it out, if you could share the show out on the social medias that you guys use, if you could let other people know about the show and we can get more people filter into the community, we could take more and more of the kind of burden off of the best community that we've built here on YouTube. I know you guys have done and continue to do a lot for the show, and I just want to make it so you guys feel a little less stress as far as keeping this show going. So if we could expand this community, draw more people in, that would be fantastic. But we hide nothing behind a paywall. You don't have to pay for the Substack. That's all free. No content is hidden behind a paywall. We don't sell you anything. No sponsors, no financial backers. We don't talk to any corporations or anything like that. We are 100% free and independent to say and speak our minds, and that's the way we'd like to keep it. Again, maybe at one point it'll actually become sustainable and even profitable, dare I say. So only with your help that we're going to get there. And again, whether it be 20,000 subscribers or, again, making this a kind of viable venture to continue as far as getting food in my stomach and paying the bills that I need to pay, that would be fantastic as well. But again, I find it very important to continue to speak out, and I'm going to stay right here doing that. So thank you to everybody on Venmo. Let's just see who was kind enough to do so. Candy, starting it off today. Thank you so much, Candy. Couple gallons of gas, almost 10 beers if you hang out at one of my local Western Wisco bars. I know which I prefer. I appreciate that, Candy, so much. I really do. Thank you, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. And then just a couple people over the last couple days. Nance, thank you so much. Thank you so much to James, Laurie, Will. I do appreciate it. Lynn, Karen, Roger, Donald, Christine, Robert, Ricky, V. Sawyer, Tom and Victoria, Claudia, James, Jeffrey, everybody that's contributed over the last 5, 6, 7 days that have made this show possible. I just want to make sure that you guys feel appreciated and know how much I appreciate you guys. So, all right, let's jump over to everybody here on the YouTube side of things so you guys can get your shout outs like you deserve. Ricky starting it off today with the 10 gifted Boston Brian memberships. Let's fucking go. W. Ricky in the chat. W. Ricky in the chat. Let's give a shout out to Ricky. Make sure we're thanking Ricky for all of the kind contributions and making sure another 10 people in this kind and generous community that we've built here are receiving Boston Brian memberships. Let's fucking go. Appreciate you, Ricky. Thank you to James here for becoming a new YouTube member. Always love seeing new YouTube members. Means that we're finally reaching some new audience out there, and I do absolutely appreciate you guys taking the time out not to watch, but also to contribute and to join the channel. So, James, very much appreciate you joining the channel, my friend. I hope you find a nice place there in the community. Once again, thank you again for becoming another new member twice. Again, I'm not sure how any of that happens, but I do very much appreciate it. Double time, James. I do. And then Peter, let's fucking go, Peter. What can I say, brother? What the fuck can I say? Thank you so much for the 50 gifted memberships there. 50 wonderful people in the chat now get Boston Brian memberships. Thanks to you. I do appreciate your loyalty, your friendship, your generosity, everything that you do, not only for this chat, but in other chats as well. We see you. We recognize you, Peter, and we appreciate you, my friend. That goes for Patrick as well. Not financial support. See, we're learning, Patrick. We're learning. I appreciate you, brother. You're quick on the uptake. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much, Patrick. See, we still have no financial support for the show. I can still say that legally. All right. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate you, brother. Shout out to you. Thank you, DPD, for the 10 gifted memberships. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's just amazing to see that people are continuously contributing to the show and making it possible for us to keep going. So thank you, DPD. Make sure we're reaching out to DPD, WDPD in the chats, just like everybody else that's contributing as well. W. Jordan claims link Epstein to Mossad. Israel, if true, could Israel be using Epstein compromise to blackmail Trump into war with Iran? I think that's one of the more prominent kind of tinfoil hat conspiracies out there, right? I think that's maybe one of the more likely. Even if you can refer to it as a tinfoil hat conspiracy at this point, I think you're probably spot on as far as that's concerned. And I think you get a lot of people on your side that are, more than willing, more than able to kind of give you evidence to suggest why that might be the case, or at least somebody is using compromise on Trump to blackmail Trump, right? Whether it be Putin, whether it be, Xi Jinping, whether it be Benjamin Netanyahu, who knows at this point, one of the fucking Saudi royal family. I don't know at this point, but it does seem every day more and more likely like somebody is kind of wielding this compromise in front of Donald Trump's nose and being like, if you don't do this, motherfucker, guess what I'm going to release? And whether maybe it's the Iranians, who knows? And maybe they're just biding their time. We did see that they had the crystal ball in their little propaganda video that they released that said Epstein on it. So I don't know. Maybe they were just hinting at that. Maybe they were just kind of taking their shots. That's for you guys to decide. I appreciate you, though, Jordan. Thank you so much. Marsha, great to see you, Marsha. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the super sticker. I hope you're fucking, recovering well. I hope you're getting all the care that you deserve, all the care that you need, all the love that you deserve, and all the love that you need from everybody here at Blunt Politics, from me and everybody that cares about you. I hope you're doing well, and we're right there with you, Marsha. Thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate you. That goes for Mr. Farce as well, closing in on 2 years. Hell yeah, much love. No, much love from everybody here. Mr. Farce, to you. Thank you so much for your kindness, your loyalty, your generosity, your passion to continue to fight in this regard. We have a lot of respect for everybody in this community, a lot of people in this community that, obviously are like upstanding citizens and exactly what we want people to be like. So, Mr. Farce, I appreciate you. Thank you for 22 months of loyalty, closing in on 2 years, and I will, be very much appreciative for that as well. So thank you, brother. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you, JD, for the $2 super sticker, my friend, going right in the swear jar as always. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for everything you do for this community. A very valued member of the community, so we appreciate you, JD. Thank you, Marsha, once again for another $2 super sticker. Let's go. Make sure we're giving that kitty a treat. Thank you so much, and I hope you're well. I really do. From everybody here, we hope you're well. Thank you to Yakov. Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers, R.I.P. And again, R.I.P. Chuck Norris as well. We're losing them all. Showing your age here, Yakov. Showing your age there, though. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Shout out to you. And then finally today, rounding it out, is Candy. Thank you so much, Candy Anderson, for the $15 contribution. Spent $1,600 to find out nothing is majorly wrong with my cat. Brian is a bargain. Jesus Christ. It is a scam, though. It is a scam. I always brought up how, like, vets, the more you talk, the more you open your goddamn mouth, the more it's going to cost you. So it's almost like, it makes you not want to talk about some of the problems that your pet may be facing because things like this could happen. You go in there, they run one test. Next thing you know, you get a $2,300 bill and you're leaving there the same way that you went in. No more answers and probably more questions. Not only that, but if you look at, like, thank you, Karen. I see you in there donating the $2. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Karen. Very much appreciate that, dear. I hope you're having a wonderful day. But if you look at some of like those vet shows that they had, who was it? It was like, what was it? Dr. Jeff, who used to have a show, and he used to say all the time, the only difference between me and the vets that charge these exorbitant rates for their fucking surgeries and for their care for the animals is basically the car that they drive home in. Like he was driving home in a busted ass minivan, a beat up fucking van that the doors were falling off and the fucking hubcaps were gone and shit. Meanwhile, all of these vets that are charging exorbitant rates, like Candy was just talking about, are driving home in Mercedes Benzes and fucking Bentleys and, God knows what else. You know what I mean? It's basically the only difference. They could do surgeries, the same surgeries for a fraction of the price. Meanwhile, you go and you say that your dog has, been scratching his ear for the last 27 seconds, and it cost you $37,000 for the fucking test that says everything's fine. You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous how expensive it is to care for your animal. I feel your pain there, Candy. I really, really do. All right, I'll let you guys go. I will see you Sunday for the Sunday show. Make sure you guys are clicking that notification bell. That way, if it works correctly, when it works correctly, if it works correctly, it lets you know when I go live or when I post a video or post a short or whatever the fuck it may be that I post. It lets you know, or it should let you know. It's supposed to let you know. Everybody tells me it doesn't work half the time, so I'm trying. You guys just don't have to sift through the schedule. And remember, every time I'm on, all you got to do is hit that notification bell. And if it works, it should alert you to when I go live. So thank you to the best mods on the fucking planet. Thank you to the best mods in the game. Sorry if this whole vertical tryout thing has been strenuous on you guys. I figured we'd give it a shot and at least see how it worked out. I don't know why it continues to mute me every time, but we'll see if we can figure that out. Who knows? Maybe we'll just scrap it. We'll scrap it like the P-37. Scrap it! All right, I'm out of here. I'll see you Sunday. I appreciate you guys. We'll inevitably have to cover more of this nonsense, more of the stupidity, more of the buffoonery coming from not only the war in Iran, but updates coming from Ukraine as well. Also, what's taking place inside our government as far as legislation trying to be passed, whether it's committee hearings, whether it's people having to testify in front of Congress. We're going to dive into all of it, and I appreciate you guys for spending some time here with me. Again, I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics, and I will see you guys Sunday. All right, hit that like on the way out. I don't think that's too too much to ask. Subscribe if you do like what you're seeing. If you find yourself coming back, no reason why you shouldn't hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 20K, and again, it's only with your help that we'll get there. And thank you again. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you Sunday. All right, I'm out. Peace. I appreciate that, Matrix. I'll see if I can take a look. Thank you, Chance. Thank you, Pops. Appreciate you, big guy. Love you as always. Thank you, dude. Thank you to all the mods. Every single one of you guys are fantastic. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, wherever you guys help out, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
For miners, do we love miners? I love miners. Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real?
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. To officially name the undisputed. When did this come out? They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means? Acclimated. Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular, and pitchers, I guess you could say, in really particular.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Thank you so much to Mark. I appreciate you, dude. Sorry to kind of thrust that upon you. I appreciate you taking care of that. Let me know what you think. If it's worth it, if it's not worth it, if it's too much of a hassle. I'll work with you guys.
You're a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your... Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable... I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow. I go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to look and to watch. Wrong. Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.